Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the anime The Ramparts of Ice Season 1 on Netflix. Though it's more like the first core because we're getting the second season in October, and there's 14 episodes for this. Really kind of strange. So, we'll see how that kind of works out. But this was released weekly. I decided to wait until the season was over. They're trying to figure that out. It was a bear and a half. But I enjoyed this one. It was interesting looking into the social kind of complexities and anxieties around these high school students. And we get our four main characters of Koyuki, Miki, Yota, and Minato. And they're very interesting because they all have different kind of hang-ups, and trying to see them kind of work them out in a group setting works pretty well. Well, and their kind of group dynamic. And this is also done by the same author that did You and I Are Polar Opposites. We actually get a little bit of crossover there. I've not seen that yet, but I do want to watch that at a certain point. But this is more kind of slice of life, but it goes more into the dramas and complexities that kind of pop up in social dynamics, specifically within middle school and high school, because Koyuki's this ice queen. She's built up this wall of ice around her because of the kind of horrible experiences that she had in middle school with bullying and teasing and everything like that. And it is also informed on Miki as well, though at first we see her kind of presented as the class kind of idol. Her kind of problems is that she puts on this mask kind of facade, but really kind of wants to be this rambunctious, high energy, kind of positive person. People had called her like a gorilla before because of the kind of stuff that she had kind of gotten into. Yota is just kind of like the tall, kind of good, older kind of brother, vastly older brother, and his family dynamic because he's got a stepmom and the kind of smaller kids that came out of that. And the thing is, he feels like he doesn't kind of belong in there, and also has feelings for Miki because they kind of attended cram school together with him and Minato, and he doesn't know how to kind of deal with that. It's really kind of funny because Koyuki kind of draws that kind of out of him, as she's pretty much getting into the kind of group. She's kind of looking and doing this kind of face, and then Minato's like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like, I don't know. But then she kind of gets accosted by these guys, kind of giving her kind of the anxiety that from what's going on in middle school. But then she kind of like sees Yota, kind of waves at him. And the thing is, he's kind of got shit eyesight. So he kind of has to get kind of really fucking close. And it's like, oh, hey, yeah. And then kind of like helps her out in that kind of scenario, which starts their kind of whole kind of friendship. The thing is, Miki kind of misreads this as like them having feelings for each other, where they're just really kind of close friends and everything. She's like, oh, they look good together. But she wants to support them from afar because her kind of whole thing with Koyuki is that she kind of talked her into going out with Tsubasa. Tsubasa? Igarashi. Tsubasa Igarashi, yes. Who evidently had feelings for Koyuki in middle school, and she went out with him, and it started to go for other kind of problems as well. One, Koyuki really didn't have the same kind of feelings for him, and was mean to him and like taking him down at a certain kind of instance. And the thing is, this other girl had feelings for him and was just making her life hell. Manatsu Atagawa. Like, she at first came in as kind of like a friend and seen that whole kind of backstory. Is like, okay, what the fuck, man? And then kind of going around and just being an asshole to her. Miki got involved as well. I was telling her to stop that kind of shit, but she kind of got like thrown back to the glass and broke it with her hands and was like, shit, fuck. And she was going after Koyuki on one kind of thing, pretty much teasing her, being like, yeah, you can't like pin this kind of shit on me, even though she pretty much egged, like, I didn't put that shit in your shoes or whatnot. It's like, I didn't mention my shoes, bitch. And then of course Igarashi kind of comes in, and that of course shuts her down in any kind of capacity for being with Igarashi. We see that Igarashi does pop up as well, playing in soccer around with Minato, and he brings up Koyuki's name. However, her last name. The thing is, her parents divorced, and she's living with her mom and barely kind of sees her. And the one thing that I really kind of connected with Koyuki is that she doesn't want to inflict herself on people. And that's, I'm watching the dub. So the use of that kind of language of like inflicting herself on people, I kind of get that because sometimes you like feel like you're inflicting yourself on other people, and you're like, I don't kind of want to do that. I'll just chill and be by myself. But her hanging out with Yota and Miki and eventually Minato and learning what's kind of going on and having fun and all that, because normally she's just eating lunch in the nurse's office and the nurse is like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you alright, man? Like, you got any friends or whatnot? And then she also gets other friends as well with this one library monitor? What's her? Shimojima, I think. I think she was a member of the art club. Yeah. And of course, we also get introduced to Miki's mischievous younger brother. He's kind of cool. Yuki. And that kind of links up with Akaine Adagawa, the younger sister. And you'd think first, oh shit. They do a good job of being like, she looks menacing and shit, but she's actually not like her sister, at least what we've got presented so far. Her sister's more kind of on the social media popularity kind of thing. She's just like in the background, like, whatever. She actually seems to have at least kind of more in common with Koyuki at this moment, and also seems to be having interest. Like, we'll see if it kind of pops up with Yuki being kind of her kind of love interest or whatnot, since they're kind of in the same grade and kind of working out on that kind of front. Minato, of course, has the first kind of thing of like, he's the popular dude and he's trying to figure out how to connect and unlock Koyuki. And the thing is, that's kind of a shit kind of way to view someone. I can understand if you're like, I kind of am interested in this person and kind of want to learn more about them, but he's looking at it as more of a kind of challenge of like how he's done his other kind of relationships. Because we also see that he gets dumped and he really doesn't have any feelings one way or the other. But we see that he eventually starts to develop feelings for Koyuki and doesn't know how to handle them. Like, with her kind of shutting him down because of him mentioning the whole kind of bullying in middle school and everything like that, it kind of throws her up as like, fuck, danger level. And I get that. When you've gone through a traumatic experience, you try and shut that shit down and make sure that that shit doesn't happen again. You kind of have to balance it out because it can lead to kind of Koyuki's kind of effect of having like, whoa, you don't want, you're going a little bit too far. There's protecting yourself, and then there's just letting that kind of shit dominate you. And it's like, fuck, man. And it really starts to affect Minato of like, we start seeing him kind of get the feelings for her. And then, of course, them bonding over his Pomeranian dog's kind of cute. As he starts kind of learning Koyuki and everything, but also we see his jealous side of wondering what's going on with Yota and everything as they're kind of having these conversations and all that. And it's also kind of funny seeing Miki having conversations and trying to learn stuff from her coworkers at the burger joint, and they're just like, shit, being a teenager, man. It's like, yes, it's just like being anyone else. Like, I love how they're like, oh, teenagers and to be young and shit like that. Motherfucker. In the stupid amount of time that I've been on this earth, I'm old, but I'm not like 100, but I've seen some shit. This shit don't stop. And that's a problem. That's the problem. You're like, oh, that's just teenager shit. I see old people doing this shit. It's being done in the retirement homes. Sexy times and pudding wars, man. STDs and fucking food fights, man. It don't stop because we got these people doing stupid shit. So if you're like, that's just the youngins doing their shit, it's like, nah, that's like everybody, man. If you don't learn from this shit, you just repeat this shit ad infinitum until it kind of goes on and like fucks your shit up. And you've got like nobody else, man, because everybody's like, I'm tired of this shit. Ugh. Let's see here. So we get them also doing this kind of club stuff, this cheer squad thing for the sports festival, them doing study sessions for all their kind of exams and all that, which is kind of cute. Seeing their little chibi style, and it's not a bad chibi. Like, I love the chibi style, but it's not your kind of typical chibi style. That it's kind of like I know Chibi's like miniature, but usually they kind of over-exaggerate the head to certain kind of degrees. This more kind of has almost a proportionality to it, where it's just like, I am small little Kyuki, and I'm just the stuff that they're able to do with them is just really kind of cute. And the animation's on point. We've got the ability to have it where it's your normal kind of moods, like every day, and then you get like extra kind of detailed stuff, but not to the point where it's like, holy fucking shit, we're photorealistic. And then the funny little bit with the little chibis doing their own kind of shit. Animation's on point. I love the opening and endings. Good music, good stuff going around. It just brings you in. Music as well. Not like anything bad, but not anything like that really just pumps out to you. You know what I mean? It's serviceable. But of course, the main draw is like seeing these group of friends interact, see them navigate their feelings and their social anxieties. Yota feeling like he doesn't belong with his people, with his family, and then Koyuki being like, you have to kind of express this and understand it and talk to someone about it, otherwise it makes soot on you and kind of closes you up and everything. And I liked how she put that. And then him going there and then seeing that his siblings want to play with him, and they're like, no, we have to wait for Yota. It's because he doesn't feel like he's part of the family, but seeing them always try and like grab onto him and everything. Now he has to kind of balance it, because sometimes you're like, I'm tired of shit because I've dealt with a lot of weird ass fucking shit, but I also want to work with do shit with my siblings and stuff. Seeing them kind of fucking run the fucking dad ragged, I'm like, holy fucking shit. I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when there's like a 10-year age gap, motherfucker. They got the energy. Gotta work for it. You're like, all right, cool. Let's see this. And seeing Minato get his kind of shit on, while he then has to deal with somebody that's going on for him as well, Momoko, who's Akain's friend. But Akain does actually warn Koyuki about Momoko and be like, listen, watch out. She's kind of weird. And we see her having the kind of manipulative kind of thing. She's kind of calling her Madam Koyuki, trying to suss out her intentions and shit without actually coming out and be like, hey, do you like him? And instead kind of going on her own kind of thing of wanting to date Minato. And it's just like, yeah, you just come up and ask and everything. Because Koyuki does, we see that she's also developed feelings as well. Her telling, of course, Yota about it first as stuff's kind of going on. And they're like, what the fuck? Because she doesn't quite know it either. Because she has such a bad experience with these kind of relationships that she's kind of shut that shit down and doesn't know how to accurately see what goes on with those feelings. We also see that Miki was trying to like keep a distance and stuff from Yota before eventually at the end Yota does confess to her, because they pretty much got into a situation that she was able to pretty much tell, but Yota wanted to make it clear to kind of deal with it, where Miki tearfully says that she cannot reciprocate the feelings because she doesn't know her own kind of feelings and doesn't know what to kind of go on with that. And that's kind of where we end off with this season of like, okay, Momoko's definitely going after Minato. Pretty much just like lays down the gauntlet and the fucking dick of like, yo, I know that fucker likes you, man, but I don't know if you like him, but I'm gonna go for him, motherfucker. It's like, shit. And she's like, what? He like, what the fuck? And if your whole kind of thing is to shut down and keep your emotions into such a kind of a check that you don't really know that stuff, it is hard as fucking shit to read it. Out of all the courses that could be done in school, teaching people to read and understand social interactions is not a course that is given, even though it is probably one of the most important fucking things that you would ever have within the entirety of your life. Now, I'm not saying that a complete and utter scientific approach would help people out, but giving a general kind of guidelines of shit and not just being like, hey, you're in school, figure it the fuck out, motherfucker, that's prison fucking rules, man. And you're like wondering why people are so maladjusted because it's prison rules. I shank you, motherfucker, because you looking at me wrong. It's like, am I looking at you wrong, or am I fucking got a lazy eye that's looking over there? What the fuck, man? Now, that's kind of more extreme, but it's more like, you play this game of like, yes, because of popularization of like Game of Thrones and shit. All the political machinations that shit happens at a grand level, at a macro level, and a micro level. It even happens in schools and everything like that, in any kind of thing. It sucks. But until we get to a point where we beat the fucking shit out of that kind of system, that's the kind of shit that people, like, don't pick up on. Because everyone's like, oh, that's just normal. It's like, is it? Because they're like, oh, be nice to people. Okay, sometimes being nice means saying no and telling you to fuck off with that goat back there, man. Because sometimes it's like, yo, let's go fucking do drugs while popping a wheelie and put a cow on the roof. No? Fuck no. Eat shit. Away with ye. Because sometimes the shit isn't worth dealing with. Because nice and kind doesn't necessarily mean you do everything that people want you to. And that's a problem that happens with certain people. It's like, because you're like, hey, I'll be nice and try and help people. And sometimes you gotta let people step on their own dick. Because otherwise, they don't learn. And even if they do that, sometimes they still don't learn. And they keep doing it. And you're like, that's gotta hurt, man, but goddamn. There's the lesson. Now, Koyuki is not on this kind of level. She, of course, has, like, trauma and everything that she's trying to deal with. Is like, what the fuck? As she's trying to suss out her own feelings, we see Minato coming with them with sparklers and everything like that. As they're kind of celebrating with the sports festival kind of stuff. Let's see. But we do see that evidently Akane is kind of like, Akane is supporting Koyuki and Minato, so we'll see what kind of goes on with that. I don't expect her to be a great adversary. I do expect her to somehow kind of pop up as a good kind of support character, but I do want to learn why she has, what's going on with Momoko, and what was going on with her and her sister, because you would think the sister would probably poison Akane greatly against Koyuki. But evidently that is not completely the case, depending upon what the kind of relationship is between her and her sister. So I kind of want to learn more about that. I just also kind of like Miki and Yuki and their kind of sibling relationship, even though it's kind of like the opposite of the relationship I have with my sister, where I'm the older one, she's the younger one. I just kind of like his kind of style, and just how he's like, hey, and just kind of like, he's not an exact copy of Miki. He has the same kind of energy, but he has his own flavor to that energy, if that makes sense. Where she's more like Bompadomo, because we see her going out to stuff with Myota, with their whole kind of motorcycle and stuff, and wanting to do these kind of things. And that, of course, gets recontextualized when she learns about Yota's feelings for her. She's like, is he a friend, or is this more than friends? And how that kind of changes things. And I do like that they bring that up, because that is an important thing that not a lot of anime and stories kind of deal with. It's like, okay, definitely when you're in a friend group, that does recontextualize it, especially depending upon how long those kind of feelings go on for. So I am intrigued to see how this kind of goes on, and what goes on with this friends group, and how it kind of eventually, where its kind of endpoint is, how they kind of work out, how they navigate their troubles and dramas. Even though this isn't like a giant action kind of one or anything like that, or has world-ending stakes, I do like that it is understanding the level of drama and conflict and how it escalates. I do like the flashbacks that we get, because we see all the different kind of stuff and the escalations that went on with Koyuki as she was kind of a friend, as she goes with Igarashi, how that kind of creates frictions with her and Atagawa, and how that kind of goes up there and kind of affects her and Miki and Igarashi and their whole kind of bit. It's like, okay. And it feels balanced. We get most of it in present day, but we get the important information that we need from the flashbacks, not where it's like, I haven't seen this, but like, if you're hell in a whole flashback episode, it's like, that man's eating a peanut butter cup. That has nothing to do with what's going on in the present. It's like, it's a whole ass episode of a man eating a peanut butter cup. I've never seen that. But I do not doubt that sometimes there are flashbacks where it's like, nothing has been achieved, nothing has been learned, why the fuck are we here? I wanted to draw, and then you go to the person who's like, I wanted to draw a man eating a peanut butter cup. I'm like, alright. Did it need a whole episode for that? That does not occur here. It is a balanced kind of one where we don't completely derail the story of the plot. It definitely adds added value to the context and plot. So Thank you. Good job on that. So if you're looking for other kind of things or even kind of escalated kind of drama, because I could see that people would say that this is escalated to like insane kind of degrees. It's like we don't have like people doing a jousting tournament on goats in the halls, or like somebody shitting tentacles out of their ass, or taking tentacles up their ass. Yes, I know that's the hentai one, but you know what I mean. It doesn't escalate to a level of like, what the fucking shit? No. So I think that the comedy works very well for what goes on balance-wise, because that's an important kind of element as well. It doesn't completely derail the serious moments, but it does add a lot of levity that is kind of needed for certain kind of scenarios, and just kind of is nicely handled. I'm going to have a review of a certain kind of thing that doesn't handle that very well, where a lot of people would probably call that the MCUification, where we get to a kind of thing where it's like, oh, we got a serious moment, we need our joking moment. Marvel has a bad tendency of that kind of happening now, and when you don't have the balancing of like, no, I don't need a joke here, and you need to figure out where to do the joke and how to execute the joke with what's kind of going on. This handles that well. At least in my opinion. If you didn't like this, I get that. If you didn't like how the release schedule is and you had to fucking guess when the fucking finale was going on, that is part of my issue with it as well, but that's the only issue. I'm like, hey, because I'm like, all right, we're episode 12. Oh, I guess we got another one. Oh, episode 13. Now we're to 14. All right, do we have any more? I'm like, how many fucking things are on this? That's my only problem. And that's more of a Netflix thing rather than the adaptation itself. So I'm like, I would recommend this. It doesn't go completely crazy on any kind of thing. Though, depending upon the subject matter of what's going on with the bullying and harassment and stuff that can go on, and any kind of social anxieties, that could be kind of triggering. So, watch a couple episodes maybe, or definitely watch any of the kind of trailers and see how you kind of suss out from there. So those are my opinions on the season. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.